In No Man's Land, there is a legendary gunman known as Vash the Stampede, but despite being a deadly outlaw with even deadlier skills, he has sworn to never take another person's life. One day, on a sand ship heading for town, a lot of people are gathered for the journey, and unfortunately, that means there are thugs like these guys who rob old ladies' shops. They are on their way to the city because they think they can capture the outlaw, Gasback, and claim the $300 million bounty on his head. While the two were talking about what they would do with the money, they notice a pretty girl sitting next to them. And this is the first time they've ever been so close to a girl without immediately running away. So one of the brothers goes up to her and starts trying to convince her to have some fun with them. But Amelia has better things to do, so she turns the guy down. The guy doesn't handle rejection very well, so he pulls a knife on her, and in response, Amelia kicks him in the balls to get him away from her. The guy falls on the floor in pain, but he and his buddy aren't going to let that slide, so one pulls Amelia to the ground so she can't fight back anymore. However, before they could do anything, Vash shows up and starts acting oblivious to distract the two thugs. One of them tries to stab Vash, but he blocks it with a rock-hard piece of dried meat, causing blade shards to go flying into both of their heads. The two then get angry and pull out their guns while threatening to shoot if Vash and Amelia don't do what they say. But before the guy could actually shoot anyone, Vash picks up a blanket and uses it to tie the two thugs up so they can't cause any harm. Vash is glad that the issue was resolved without anyone getting hurt, but this ship has a strict rule against firing a gun, so as a result, the two idiots are thrown overboard and left stranded in the middle of the desert while everyone else continues heading towards the city. Meanwhile, two girls from an insurance company show up in the city, and they're here to meet with the mayor, Kane. As they enter his house, they are surprised to see just how much money and security Kane possesses. And in fact, when Kane finally arrives, he is escorted by a dozen personal bodyguards for his safety. The two try to make a good impression on him by giving him a box of donuts as a gift, but his security team thinks they are trying to blow Kane up, so they hold the girls at gunpoint, hit the box with liquid nitrogen, before throwing it in a bomb scanner. The scanner tells them the box is safe, so Kane apologizes for the misunderstanding, but he currently has everyone on high alert since there's a major threat brewing. Anyway, the three sit down and discuss the terms of the insurance contract over some frozen donuts, but Kane doesn't understand why they need to review the contract since their insurance company already agreed to the payout amount. That bronze statue is a symbol of the town, and he spent a lot of money to get it insured, so no matter what their company tries to pull, he's not going to let them get out of paying for it. A little while later, Meryl and Millie head back to their inn, but Millie asks if it is really okay to leave without reevaluating the value of the bronze statue. Meryl tells her that their insurance company is one of the stingiest in the world, so they already set the value of that statue for the absolute minimum. The real reason they were sent here is because the insurance company doesn't want to pay the claim, so their job is to find any loopholes they can use to get out of paying the insurance money. Millie understands, but she doesn't think they need to worry about Gasback stealing that thing because even if he is a legendary thief, there's no way he would be able to steal something as large as that statue. However, Meryl isn't just worried about the statue being stolen. If Gasback is involved, there's a good chance he will end up destroying the entire thing, and then the company would have to pay out the $5 billion claim. For the sake of their jobs, Meryl tells Millie that they need to find a way to avoid having to pay the claim, even if it means defending the statue with their lives. At the same time, the sand ship has just arrived in town, and Vash is trying to talk to Amelia as they are getting off, but Amelia wants nothing to do with him. She is grateful that he helped her out back on the ship, but she already thanked him for that, so she doesn't understand why he keeps following her. Vash tells her he thinks meeting Amelia here was fate, so he doesn't want to let her go without at least getting to know her first. Amelia is getting sick of Vash and tries to get rid of him by punching him in the mouth, but Vash catches her hand with his teeth, takes off her glove, and starts snuggling up to her to get her to like him. But it has the exact opposite effects since Amelia freaks out and breaks out in hives. Vash asks if she's alright, so Amelia explains that she is literally allergic to men, so a guy like Vash touching her in any way would cause a reaction. If that's the case, Vash tells her she probably shouldn't have come to this city since it's full of all sorts of scumbags. But Amelia tells him he doesn't need to worry about her since she is more than capable of handling herself. Vash says he understands, but that doesn't stop him from touching Amelia anyway. Meanwhile, Kane is worried about what Gasback might do to him, because 20 years ago, he and the rest of Gasback's former crew were trying to rob a bank, but once they had secured the money, they betrayed Gasback and tried to kill him. They had Gasback dead to rights, but just before they could finish him off, Vash intervened and saved Gasback's life. Vash didn't have any special reason for keeping Gasback alive. He just didn't like the idea of letting someone die. But since Gasback is still alive, Kane is certain that he's going to come here to get his revenge. Meanwhile, Gasback is on his way to the city right now. He's got Wolfwood as his temporary bodyguard. A few days earlier, Wolfwood was stuck out in the desert with no water, but just as he was about to die of thirst, Gasback found him. Now Wolfwood is indebted to him, so he promised to guard him until he gets to his destination, even if he doesn't agree with what Gasback does. Back in town, Vash is still pestering Amelia and follows her all the way to a nearby bar because he wants to hang out with her. Vash spots his old friends Millie and Meryl sitting at a table, so he invites Amelia to come sit with him over there, but she refuses since she doesn't want anything to do with Vash. However, there aren't any other available seats, so she is forced to sit with Vash anyway. After a couple of drinks, Amelia mentions that she is in town because there were rumors that Gasback will attack this place soon, and she wants to be the first to put a bullet in his head. Millie warns Amelia that Gasback isn't an easy man to catch, but if she's still insistent on going after him, then she might want to get a life insurance policy. Speaking of Gasback, Meryl asks Vash if he's planning to get involved in this mess too, but Vash doesn't give her a direct answer. Meryl already has enough to worry about with someone like Gasback on the loose, so she can't afford to have Vash the humanoid typhoon causing trouble too. Just then, she realizes it might be a bad idea to say Vash's name here since he's a majorly wanted man. And this bar is full of bounty hunters, so things could get ugly really fast. That same night, Gasback is posted outside the city and he's really looking forward to all the chaos he will cause for Kane. Ever since the day Kane and the others betrayed him, he has been plotting his revenge, but it wouldn't have satisfied him to merely kill Kane. That's why he waited years for Kane to finally achieve something in life, just so he could steal it and cause him to suffer. Back in town, the bar has gotten pretty lively, and after so many drinks, everyone at the table is drunk and talking about their biggest worries. Amelia is about to say something about why she hates Gasback so much, but she suddenly feels like peeing, so she gets up and starts walking to the bathroom. However, before she could get there, one guy notices that she's really drunk, so he thinks he has a chance with her since she might not notice how ugly he is. But Amelia is well aware of what he's trying to do, so she calls him an ugly bastard, which makes him really mad. He tries to take his anger out on Amelia, but she easily dodges and knocks him into a table. A bunch of the other guys at the bar see this happening, and they are excited to join in since they were looking for a good excuse to fight, so before long, the entire bar erupts into chaos. Vash tries to calm everyone down since he doesn't like all this senseless violence, but no one is paying attention to him, and eventually someone pulls a gun. So everyone else in the bar does the same. However, to their surprise, no one's gun actually goes off, and that's because Vash pickpocketed everyone's bullets while he was crawling around. They all eventually notice him hiding under the table and scramble to get their bullets back, and while everyone is distracted, Vash grabs Amelia and starts heading back to the inn. While Vash is carrying her, Amelia starts telling him about the time Gasback was almost killed 20 years ago, but some idiot helped him escape alive. Amelia is incredibly annoyed with how things happened since if Gasback had died that day, then a lot of people wouldn't have had to suffer because of him. Vash doesn't tell her that he's the idiot who saved Gasback, but he understands that his decision back then inadvertently caused many people to suffer, which is why he came to this city in hopes of stopping whatever Gasback has planned. Although he doesn't say any of that out loud and instead jokes about taking Amelia to bed with him. So she gets mad and starts pounding his back before her drunkenness finally catches up to her, and she throws up all over Vash. Vash later manages to bring Amelia back to the inn and puts her in bed to get some rest. And while she's out cold, she begins having flashbacks to the day her mother died. Elsewhere in the city, the power generator is being inspected, and according to the electricians, everything looks good, so it should be able to provide power for another dozen centuries or so. The next morning, Gasback makes his move and busts down the city gates with a massive cargo hovercraft. He is well aware of all the bounty hunters that are gathered here to capture him, but he doesn't care because this makes things more interesting. So as the bounty hunters attack him, he returns fire and takes a large chunk of them out before continuing towards Kane's house. No matter what the bounty hunters try, Gasback barely slows down at all, until eventually he across Vash once more. It's been so long that it takes Gasback a while to realize that Vash is the same guy from 20 years ago, so he asks Vash if he's planning to get involved here. All of a sudden, a bounty hunter appears behind Gasback and is about to shoot him. But before that could happen, Vash fires a bullet and knocks the gun out of his hand. Now Gasback is really confused since it's clear that Vash is trying to stop, yet he's also protecting him for some reason. Vash explains that he just doesn't want to let Gasback die, but he also doesn't want to let Gasback kill Kane, so he asks if Gasback can just leave on his own. Gasback says he can't do that, but he knows there's no way he's getting past Vash the Stampede on his own, so he calls on Wolfwood to buy him some time. Vash seems to recognize Wolfwood, and he can't believe that a man like him would team up with Gasback, But Wolfwood says he's just doing this because he has a contract to escort Gasback until he gets to Kane's house. And while he may not like what Gasback is doing, a contract is a contract, so he's going to have to get past Vash to make it happen. Vash doesn't want to fight an old friend, but it looks like he's got no choice, so he starts firing at Wolfwood. However, Wolfwood blocks the bullets and holds Vash at gunpoint, buying Gasback just enough time to get into Kane's house. Once Kane realized that Gasback had gotten into the house, he started panicking, so the first thing that came to mind was to take out a gun and shoot his two buddies in the kneecaps and try to throw them under the bus to save himself. However, Gasback already knows Kane is the slimy weasel that masterminded the whole betrayal, so he's going to make him pay for what he did tenfold. First, he punches Kane in the face, and then he's about to shoot him. But just before he does, Vash and Amelia show up and hold him at gunpoint. Amelia fully intends to shoot Gasback down, but again, Vash doesn't want to let anyone die, so he stops Amelia from taking the shot. In all the chaos, Kane seizes the opportunity to escape and launches himself out of the house, but Gasback won't let him get away so easily. He corners Kane outside and says he's going to steal everything Kane has ever worked for and relish in his despair, so he sets off several bombs that destroy the city's power plant and send the power generator rolling down the hill. Meryl is a little relieved when she finds out that Gasback is after the power generator instead of the statue, but then the power generator destroys the statue, so the insurance company is going to have to pay for it anyway. The generator gets loaded on the Gasback's cargo hovercraft and he rides off with it. But that generator is really important to the city, so every bounty hunter with a car immediately starts chasing after him, including Amelia. Amelia pulls up beside Gasback and tries to line up a shot on him, but Vash drives in between them and tells Amelia to stop. If she takes that shot, then she might end up destroying the power generator, and if that happens, then the city will never be able to get it back. But Amelia says she doesn't care and takes the shot anyway. She misses Gasback by a few inches, so she starts aiming to take a second shot, but this time Vash climbs on top of the car to block her. Amelia doesn't want to hurt Vash since he's not her target, but the same can't be said for Gasback's crew, because they don't even hesitate and shoot Vash in the chest. Vash falls off the car and unfortunately into a patch of quicksand in the desert, so despite Wolfwood and Amelia's best efforts to save him, he disappears into the sand. Both Amelia and Wolfwood are devastated by this, so the next morning they resume their pursuit and track Gasback down to an isolated canyon. The two of them pull up on Gasback by themselves, and Gasback's men think this must be some kind of joke since there's no way two people could win this fight. However, despite everything the crew throws at them, the two counter with ease and keep walking forward. Amelia makes it to Gasback and fires a couple shots at him, but Gasback can tell that she wasn't actually aiming for him, so he thinks she doesn't have the guts to kill him. However, that's not the case since Amelia had actually been aiming at the cargo ship's hydraulics in order to cause a distraction, and while Gasback isn't looking, she tries to take it and get out of here with the generator. Unfortunately, the ship was chained to the ground so she can't leave, and to make matters worse, one of the crew members holds a gun to her head so she can't fight anymore. Wolfwood wants to save Amelia, but there's no way he would be able to aim before Gasback could have Amelia killed, so he can't do anything either. But all of a sudden, a shot is fired and the gun is knocked away from Amelia's head. One who fired the shot is none other than Vash, and he's as cheerful as ever. Wolfwood can't believe Vash is still alive since he saw him get shot, so Vash explains that he was carrying some hard smoked meat in his pocket at the time, and it managed to save him from the bullet. Anyway, it's pretty clear that Gasback can't win anymore with all three of them against him, so Vash asks if they can just end this peacefully so he can go home. However, Gasback challenges Vash to a duel to settle this once and for all, so Vash agrees and asks the others not to interfere. The duel begins and both begin to fire at each other, but Vash is evidently the superior marksman because he easily shoots Gasback in the leg and shoulder to incapacitate him. And when Gasback continues trying to fight, Vash shoots Gasback's ammo strip, causing an explosion that knocks him down. The duel is officially over since Gasback can't shoot anymore, but even though he lost, Gasback still intends to take Vash out with him, so he charges up an area of effect electric blast to take everyone out. Vash is prepared to stop him before he finishes charging up, but Amelia tells him to wait because she wants to handle this. The electric pulse goes off, but Amelia is able to block it with a special glove she is wearing, and Gasback is dumbfounded when he sees this because he is the one who made that glove. He demands to know where Amelia got that thing since that glove was made for his wife, so Amelia tells him that her mother left it for her before she died. She reveals that she is Gasback's daughter, and after he left her mother, she had to live a life of constant hardship. Gasback doesn't understand how that could have happened because he gave Amelia's mother enough money to live comfortably for the rest of her life, and that may be true. But then a bunch of robbers came along and stole the fortune Gasback left behind. And no one bothered to help them because of Gasback's rotten reputation. Not even the doctors were willing to treat Gasback's wife, so she ended up dying of a preventable illness. Amelia has hated Gasback ever since and blames him for her mother's death, so she wants to kill him as revenge. But when the time comes to pull the trigger, she can't bring herself to do it. She knows her mother truly loved Gasback and wouldn't want Amelia to kill him, so she decides to let him live after all. In the end, the generator is returned to the city and Gasback, along with all the other criminals, is turned into the police, so there's nothing more for Vash to do here. He and Wolfwood start heading for the next town, but then a piece of paper blows in Vash's face, and it says something about the Dodongo brothers recently escaping from prison, so Vash knows what he's going to do next.